And we do have 50 people in the room, so we'll go ahead and get this party started. Most everyone who matters is here. Not everyone, but most of the people who matter are here. So there you go. But DePaul is here, American Tours, checking things out. Jenna Reese from Chino Valley, Idris Taylor, Kimberly Kester, Arts 4014, Scooter Pops, Retired Butcher Boy. A lot of the usual suspects, as we like to say. I'm going to make sure I got this thing turned off for once, because otherwise it's going to make some weird echoey noises. Yeah, we got 44 degrees here in southeastern Michigan. We had wind storms the other day where it was literally 70 mile an hour wind gusts. 70. They measured 70 mile an hour wind gusts, but it was like 40 to 50 all day long. I mean, it was crazy. It sounded like a freight train, like just going by all day long. It was crazy. Nothing damaged my house or anything like that, but I know somebody that had a big tree fall in their condominium and put a branch right through the roof. And they got a roof with a hole in it and a ceiling and a branch sticking into their living room. So you don't want that. So there you go. Richard Terhune. Hello, Steve. Dan Boyd's got a new driver's license. Oh, Tyler Pasquale says it's soon to be rainy in South Carolina. Soon to be rainy. Easy 3333. Montebello, California. My wife and I just moved from Spain. Luis Daniel Mesa. Well, welcome, my friends. Daniel Kester, did you get a couple t-shirts yesterday? I sent you a note. I did not get a chance to check my P.O. box yesterday. I was there on Friday, but I did not get to my P.O. box yesterday. So if they're there, I'll pick them up on Monday. Jerry Dodge had to haul a door to the job site on top of my car during that windstorm. Oh, my. Pick you up and blow you away. Tim Nossum, hey, everyone. Hey. Dougie Doo's brother acquired a trampoline in his field from somewhere. I found stuff in my yard that was like, what? Lewis Browning, how do those Aerodynes look? You know, you sent me a note about Aerodynes. I'm not sure what you're talking about. I do not have any Aerodynes. I don't think you sent them to me. Brian Fullerton, the Ides of March are upon us. Yes, I put the Ides of March in the title to today's video. A lot of people don't know this, but the Ides of March is simply a reference to the 15th. And there was a time when people weren't as literate, didn't have calendars or clocks, and you'd remember things. And so the halfway part of the month is the Ides. It's one of those old school things, but it also coincides with a very, very bad day that Caesar had. A very bad day. Oh, the prodigal stranger today would have been my father's 88th birthday. Wow. Miko Angel says the t-shirt I sent you has arrived in your P.O. box. Yesterday? I got nothing all week. Emmanuel G, only one video a day. Did I miss something? Yeah, about a year ago. I stopped doing 2 videos a day. And apparently you missed it. I mean, it's the point where I've discussed it on this channel in a live stream 5 or 6 times. So John Michael Carm, I just turned 2 old favorite t-shirts into oil rags. Yeah, I hang on to like shirts that wear out or tear. I hang on to them and use them as they're great for buffing cars. You know, there's nothing better than that. Wags81, YouTube's determined I should fall asleep to your live streams recently. This is the first time I've seen you actually live. But was I talking to you in your sleep? Art Cook, I'm from San Fernando Valley, California. Granada Hills High School, John Elway's school. Denver Broncos. You're a rock star, Steve. It's a lot of information in that run-on sentence. Arts 4014, did any new wildlife blow in? I've seen a bunch of new animals in the area. I've been seeing sandhill cranes now for a few weeks. Geese, ducks, but nothing out of the ordinary. I have deer in my yard every day or so. So AMZ, it's my birthday. Happy birthday, AMZ 398. Yeah, Dan Boyd, you got that backwards. No, actually, you're correct. The Ides of March is the band that performed the song Vehicle back in the day. Great song, way ahead of its time. Way ahead of its time. WTF, Mike, how's the snow? We might have gotten 8 inches in North Dakota. The upper peninsula of Michigan right now is just getting annihilated with snow. They're literally talking about it in feet. They're going, we'll get 1 to 3 feet of snow, not inches, feet. But southeastern Michigan, no snow, and it's above freezing. So we got nothing on the ground, just off-colored grass. Lewis Browning says delivered parcel locker, Atlas, Michigan, March 14th, 2026. Well, that would be that would be yesterday. I did not make it the PO box yesterday. I made it there the day before. Nick Bradley says the alternate title to the play was Caesar's terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. The day started out okay, it just ended badly. Oh boy. Carl's Corner says only Crystal Gale talks in your sleep. And of course, whoever the romantics were talking about. So I know the secrets that you keep. Oh, by the way, I see, I do more on a Sunday than most people do all week. I got up this morning and went to a record show in Macomb County, Michigan, largely because Doug Podell, a famous rock DJ here in Detroit, was there and selling a bunch of his memorabilia. And I had one of these back in the day, but I can't find it now. But this is a WABX decoder ring. I've got that now. And also, I bought this off of him. This is a what they call it, it's called a mic flag, but you put it on the base here or on here to indicate so that when you stick your microphone in the face of the person, that if there's a camera, it'll show up. But also, it'll show up if you're shooting in your studio. So I got to work this stuff in here. Tim Nossman, you a fan of the Grand Rapids band Wolfpack? Never heard of them. Never heard of them. Scooters Pops 71, send the heat this way. Andy, New York is checking in from Florida. Mount Dora, Florida. It's like Mount Clemens, right? There's not an actual mount there, is there? Like a mountain? Elango Matt Tab, fun times here in Illinois with all the storm chasers descending on my area after Tuesday's storm. That's one thing I was worried about when there's a disaster. There was these tornadoes in Michigan a couple weeks ago, and I know that a lot of looky-loos go driving by and taking pictures and stuff. It's like people are trying to clean up, Nothing worse than you're trying to clean up the mess that used to be your house and somebody's taking your picture. So, Frozen Canary, greetings from Asbury Park. I've got family in Copper Harbor. Wow. Copper Harbor year-round population is like 12. 3 feet and 50-mile-per-hour winds expected. I'm joking. The population is actually a couple hundred, but I love Copper Harbor. So, Miko Angel says, in my t-shirt got delayed precisely 1 day. 1 day. Prodigal Stranger, Caesar's last words. Boy, that escalated quickly. Oh, boy. Dan Boyd says 99.5. My FM dial does not acknowledge fractions. What's funny is there was a time before people had digital receivers, and they'd tell you things like 99.5. And, 101 FM was actually 101.1 if you had a digital receiver, which nobody did back in 1975. John Michael Karma, I still have my WABX decoder ring without the decoding instructions. Yeah, I'm not sure. This one's actually not even in the best shape, but it's good enough to say I've got one. So that'll work for me. Mark Miller, hey Steve, what's up? Darkwood says in 66, I was in the WLS Larry Lujek Batman Club. Got a ring, badge, and an official ID. WTF Mike, why don't you need an ID to buy vanilla extract given it's 41% alcohol? I suspect it's because it's sold in bottles that are like 3 ounces. And they're thinking that the small amount But I don't know. I was not aware of that. I would assume it'd be just as regulated as cough syrup, right? Vinny Sluga, good morning. Happy St. Patrick's Day, Steve. That would be a couple days down the road, but close enough. I know a lot of people are, in fact, Mustang MGO5 mentioned that he was at a parade recently. Was that today? For St. Patrick's Day. Yeah, Wade Pittenger, your secret message is be sure to drink your OV Ovaltine. This is an ad. Yeah, the great Quidjabo, same thing. Dan Boyd, WTUE 104.7, referred to themselves as 105 in the 1970s. A lot of radio stations did. They'd round up or round down until things went digital. Then things got messy. But, 99 and a half sounds pretty cool. 99.5, that's not as rock and roll. Darren McQuaid switched over to his other account. It's extremely windy in Illinois. Headed back to Arkansas. Thank you very much. Oh. Amber Miss 69. It's been a strange few weeks. The defense of AI, then back to the normal criticism of AI. Well, the funny part is that somebody suing AI as if it's a person is actually going too far. But there are people out there who actually think that. I mean, it's just Bosco MH0862 Bosco. Back when people had passwords instead of pins for their ATMs. Lewis Browning says a station in Cincinnati will be changing their call sign to WKRP. I know that WKRP was being used by somebody else up until fairly recently because I had somebody send me a bumper sticker for them a little while ago, about a year or two ago. Polish AI guy, have you heard the band Angine de Poitrine? No, I've not. John Michael Karma, how many radio stations had a morning zoo? The question is, how many of them called it the morning zoo? There was the morning zoo and there was the breakfast club. And those are the two things that everybody had. The most famous morning zoo would be Shannon's out of New York City, Scott Shannon's. But yeah, it was like a template that a lot of people copied. Mexican Spec, good morning, Steve. And just in case you're curious, I do not have a gray Solo Cup, but I have a green one. So there you go. Image Doc Ray, Oscar night's the worst time to be in LA, full of celebrities nobody's heard of, and full of celebrities nobody cares about. Quite frankly, with the movie industry in the condition it's in, I don't even bother watching anymore because they're going to be talking about movies I've not seen, don't care about, and it's like they're trying to make a big deal out of it. And I think they're the only people who buy that as a big deal. Lewis Daniel Mesa, I'm fighting AI right now. I'm in tech. There's going to be a lot of fighting going on. Mark Doherty, my wife had an AI phone assistant get nasty for her asking for a real person. Oh, I've had that. I've been doing that for years. But I mean, I remember when they would try to get you to just, what do you want? And give you three choices. And I go, a real person. I'm sorry, I didn't understand you. What do you want? 1, 2, or 3? A real person. I didn't understand you. And Greg Benson, good afternoon. Blissful Nessence. William Harol, hey, Steve, and everyone else here. Darkwood, Don McLean and the Breakfast Club out of Chicago. Yeah, I've heard of a bunch of different places that had radio shows called the Breakfast Club. And of course, there's the movie. So 107.5 in Nashville back in the 80s had a zoo crew. It's a twist on the morning zoo, right? Mexican Spec, could you paint the cup to match your shirt? I've got a half gallon of gray paint someplace. I could have dipped this and let it dry, but I'd have to plan that out about a day in advance, I think. Austin Foster says the best way to get through to a real person on the phone is to start hitting 0. That'll usually do it. And in fact, that's usually the shortcut. you know, this, then for Espanol, 9, numero dos or whatever. That's 2, of course. And then, or stay on the line or press 0. Eh. Roy Brannon 9002 ZBE GGGG 2 GGGVCVG. Hold on. GGGG point GG2 CGZ GVXR EE. Okay, the EE tied it all together. Prodigal stranger. He doesn't have time for basic math. I don't have time for math, let alone basic math. Oh boy, hang on. Oh, choke. I used to bring in a kill switch, but people claimed it caused a static, so I can't. Grand Trenny says, I was told that a certain car maker, Ford, is charging a subscription to open the trunk for luggage on electric cars. I think they're charging you. Well, that's what I'm not sure what they're charging you for. I've seen it reference the liner, and I've seen it reference just simply using it, which doesn't seem like that makes any sense to me. But I have not looked into that one yet. There've been a lot of good stories lately. At least I thought so. I'm not exactly the best judge of that, apparently. Now a curmudgeon says Sicily Road to Revenge is on Netflix on March 21st. Mark your calendars now. It's I wouldn't say it's as good as the original, because the original is so good. But it's such a good sequel. It is such a good sequel. BK Reps has already been asked if the Indiana BMV can be compelled to release the list of data brokers through a FOIA request. Nobody's asked that. I don't know what the Indiana FOIA law looks like. It'd certainly be a fun thing to try, though. Isaiah, JFA, did you watch Sinners? No, I did not. Dan Boyd, Cincinnati's 101.9, also had a morning zoo. John Michael Karma, Dan Boyd, 101.9 in Detroit is public radio. Yeah, the one the one down there at DET, one down there at Wayne State. W means nothing. Jerry Dodge. We've talked about this before. Call signs of radio stations in America, there's not perfect uniformity. Generally speaking, W means it's east of the Mississippi. K means it's west of the Mississippi. Most stations have got 4 call letters, but some old stations have got 3. And there are some exceptions back and forth. The same way that most radio stations in Canada start with a C. It's the same way that airplanes have got N numbers on them. What's the N mean? Well, they just always had N numbers. They had to put a letter there in front of the number. Dan Boyd, that sounds odd. Usually public stations are the left end of the dial. Many of them are, but DET is actually a very, very powerful FM station with a very good signal. And they got it a long time ago. And I know that there have been times when commercial radio stations have come by and tried to buy it or swap signals with them because it's such a good signal. But Arts 4014, have you watched any of the Fat Electrician's interpretations of Finnish stories yet? No, I have not. I meant to do that, but I forgot. Scooters Pops does WIOG's morning show Are they still the zoo? Did they call themselves that? I've known people worked at IOG. Um, it was a competitor of mine when I worked at CK105 in Flint. WIOG was the new 102 for like 20 years. The new MHOH is a commercial station in Colorado, 88.7. Same in Detroit, CIMX, the Canadian station. So it's not always a hard and fast rule. Yeah, the prodigal stranger says the N in the airplane ID numbers for the United States. It's a country code. Yeah, so why isn't it U or S or A for America? It's N. Tim Nossum, CK105 rolls off the tongue. It does. Originally, it was WWCK, and they'd call it that. Flint's Best Rock. Oh. Dan Boyd, considering that we built and flew the first airplane, that's a legit question. No, that's the whole point. Is that if we were flying first, why couldn't we just pick whatever number we wanted or letter and just go with A? JW5929 asks a question that I answered 15 minutes ago. Maybe I missed it in a previous live stream, but why did you stop releasing 2 videos a day? I did that about a year ago now, I think, but I discovered that I get the exact same number of views each day if I put out 1 video or 2. So if I put out 2 videos, I get half the views on one and half the views in the other. If I put up 1 video, everybody watches that one. And that actually helps more because YouTube promotes videos that do well. So in a roundabout way, I was competing with myself. It was actually hurting me to put out a second video every day. So Mike in Westlands checking in. Of course, he's School Bus Mike, 1962. Tin Door Tailgater, Soupy Sales, and Sonny Elliott. Sonny Elliott is a fascinating guy. I knew him. I got to know him later in life. And Sonny Elliott was a weatherman in Detroit, a beloved character in Detroit. Back in the days when weathermen used chalkboards. And a lot of people did not know that he was on board an airplane in World War II that got shot down, and he spent part of the war in a prisoner of war camp. Came back to America after the war and got a job in television and did the weather. Great guy. And he's also on the radio doing weather towards the end at WWJ. Soupy Sales is another famous Detroiter who worked in radio and television and wound up in New York. And what's funny is I grew up in Michigan. I just thought he disappeared. I didn't know he went to New York until later. I'm like, oh, wait. Oh, boy. Secret voice unlocked. Hi, Steve. Lots of great content. Well, disappointing, but that's the business. Well, is it great content or is it disappointing? I don't get it. Sorry. Darkwood puts out 0 videos a day on YouTube. See, if you graphed what I did, two videos a day last year, 1 video a day this year, next year, obviously, it's just a straight line graph, right? JW, I set my clock to your 10 o'clock release time and I try to watch it in the first 15 minutes. Thank you. I appreciate that. It actually helps because YouTube is all about momentum. And the quicker you gain it, the better you do. Mitch, Engadine. I might be the only person in this room who understands what that. Assuming it's a joke regarding the town of Engadine in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. There was a town there once called, the town is called Engadine. They used to have a restaurant there called the Engadiner. The Engadiner. Blissful Essence, do you remember Wolfman Jack? Well, Wolfman Jack was never on the radio any place I lived, but he was syndicated briefly at a radio station I worked at. I used to run the tapes for him. But obviously, we all know him from American Graffiti and other places. And he also did a lot of television in the 70s. He did a great episode of The Odd Couple. Oh, secret voice unlocked. I meant legal decisions are often not fair. Okay. Makes sense. Tim Nossum says Soupy Sales is so well known he's referenced in a Beastie Boys song. Really? I've got their greatest hits. Is it in there somewhere? Oh. Scooters Pops. There were a couple of famous weather guys from WNEM out of Saginaw. The TV station, Channel 5? Because I know there's also a lot of guys from WSGW who are quite well known. The Great Quidjabo says, I really appreciate the fact that you don't have those dumb shock reaction faces on your thumbnails. As a rule of thumb, I tend to avoid those. You won't believe what's happening. Oh, I hate those too. And I get people, contacting me going, Steve, if you pay me, I'll make you thumbnails. It'll get you lots. And I don't want to have those cheesy thumbnails. I don't want to. Tall, Thin Kev, which song did you have to play that you hated the most? I hate to rip on music because I like music. And I know some of the songs I like, other people hate. But I'll tell you right now, I worked in radio when Mickey by Tony Bezel came out. Oh, Mickey, you're so fine. You're so fine. You blow my mind. Oh, Mickey. I had to play that song briefly. And it was punishment. Louis Daniel Mason says, okay, we're having a kid in August. I'm negotiating names with my wife. We're going for Aitor, typical Spaniard name in the Basque country, or Liam. Help. Well, I'll tell you right now, my 2 cents. Liam, I believe, is a really popular child's name right now. So there's a chance that your kid could wind up in a class with 12 other Liams. But that's just me. I'm just pointing it out. Scooters Pops, yeah, TV5, WNEM. I've been on TV5. There was a time when one of the reporters, anytime she had a consumer law issue, she'd call me. And about half the time she'd go, can I get you on camera? And what's really funny, I remember one time she called my office, left a message. I called her back on my cell phone. I answered her question. And she goes, where are you right now? And I go, I'm driving. She goes, where are you going? I go, I'm driving to, it was a courthouse and I forgot where it was. She goes, I'll meet you there. And I go, for what? She goes, can you appear on camera? And I'm like, sure, I guess so. So she interviewed me out in front of a courthouse. It had nothing to do with the story. It was just where I was going for a status conference. And I turned on TV that night and there I am talking about something in front of the courthouse. So Blissful Nessence had a crush on a boy named Mickey when that song came out. Really? There was a time when Mickey was a hot kid's name, but I'm, like Mickey Mantle, Mickey Lolich, Mickey Stanley, the 1960s. But maybe I suppose. Arts 4014, we punish listeners by playing Men Without Hats. See, I like Men Without Hats, Safety Dance. And that's a great example where I know people who hate that song, but I saw them play that song at the Totally Tubular Festival 2 years ago. It's good. Now, MH08, are you saying you don't like David Essex? Rock On? It's a good song. Tin Door Tailgater lurking. Gwen, why ever? We got Steve doing the weather. Do we get Steve DJing next? DJing, what's that? John Michael Karma heard Arthur Penhollow take off Dire Straits So Far Away on the first play and say, hell no. Really? I'm surprised. Only because if the song makes it into the playlist at a radio station, WRIF in Detroit, it's already been cleared by like 15 people. And they're going to tell people that number one, if you play it, you got to play it. Number two, you can't badmouth it. You can simply not talk about it, but you can't. But I'm surprised. But I wouldn't be. Then again, he was a very very well known individual who could probably get away with more. Secret Voice Unlocked. I wish there was a video on YouTube of just all the legal axioms. The problem with the legal axioms is you got to explain them. Post hoc ergo propter hoc. That's actually not a legal thing, but that's a logical fallacy. Jerry Dodge, ever watch Little Nicky? Somebody mentioned Little Nicky a couple weekends ago on this channel. Said somebody had their appointment with a pineapple. I said, "Oh, it's Little Nicky." Little Nicky, sorry. Somebody says men without brains. The joke I always heard was men without talents, but I actually, like I said, I like that song. Dan Boyd, I remember when Rock On was new, and then it got covered again also in the late 80s, early 90s. Wade Pittenger, Mickey Mouse. Yeah, and when was Mickey Mouse invented? Like 1927 or something? Mickey Dolenz, I forgot. Ian Gotti. Miko Angel claims to have a question. Now, what would you do if you had a question? How let's think this through. If you had a question and you actually wanted an answer, because you didn't say you want an answer, you said I have a question. But if you had a question, it might be fun to pose it and see if I'd answer it or get someone in the room to answer it for you. Polish AI guy, the wife and I watched the new Matlock with Kathy Bates. I've not watched it. I will admit that. I didn't watch the old Matlock either. Oh, boy. Oh, Super Duper Cooper says, don't forget Men Without Hats. Their other song, Pop Goes the World. Less of a hit, but it's catchy. The Prodigal Stranger, wasn't there a song called Mexican Radio? Yes, by a band called Wall of Voodoo. Mickey Thompson, Robert Torre, the guy who put his name in all kinds of performance parts you could buy at Gratiot Auto Supply back in the day. Louis Daniel Mesa, Del Shannon, Runaway. Del Shannon, of course, is from Michigan, a little town called Coopersville. He actually had a couple hits, a song called Hats Off to Larry, believe it or not. But Runaway was his big one. Mickey Rourke, Carl's Corner, 4820. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yossarian, Hats Off to Larry. He had a couple other good songs, too. Austin P. Foster, The Wall of Voodoo is awesome. Darren McQuaid's the one who brought up the Little Nicky and the pineapple a couple shows back. The Great Quidjabo, how about some legal axioms about sovereign citizens? Well, those aren't axioms. Legal axioms would be condensed statements about the law that are true. Possession is 9/10 of the law is a legal axiom. How true it is, but that's something they always say. Dr. Rick 07. Hey, Steve. Hey, Dr. Rick. Dan Boyd never realized Hats Off to Larry was Del Shannon. He had another song later in his career. The music played on. Really good song, but you never heard it in America. He actually had a decent following in Europe, in England. Arts 4014, we also played selections from Leonard Nimoy. Now, obviously, at that point, you're either screwing with your audience or you're doing like a Dr. Demento thing. Leonard Nimoy, and don't forget about Captain Kirk. William Shatner sings. It's a sentence that actually makes no sense. Fast Eddie, are you on early? No. Are you still on non-daylight savings time? Nick Bradley, all the justice done in the halls of justice is done in the halls. That's good. I can also tell you that there is a really well-known, this is really deep inside. Most non-attorneys won't know this, and even many attorneys won't. But there was a book called The Bramble Bush, written by a guy named Llewellyn. And Llewellyn, in a footnote, said something so profound that people would actually say, oh yeah, Llewellyn's footnote. And what he said was, people who think the courts are run by the judges and the attorneys don't understand they're really run by the clerks. And once you do enough stuff in court, you understand how much the clerks actually run. They might not run everything, and they don't get to actually, pass judgment, but man, you'll get the impression that they run the place. Secret voice unlocked. You got nice hair, Steve, and your teeth look good. Okay. Thank you for basic hair and teeth check. Dan Boyd says David Pearson once angered Mickey Mantle by driving too fast with Mickey in the car. I'll tell you right now, if David Pearson was driving, I would have no fear whatsoever in any vehicle ever. I interviewed David Pearson years ago. Really, really nice guy. One of the greatest drivers in NASCAR. I would still say Richard Petty is the greatest, but you have to look at the list of all-time victories, and number one is Richard Petty. Number two is David Pearson. And whenever Petty won, second place is almost always David Pearson. And it was almost always reversed. If Pearson won, Petty came in second. Margin, Kate Caboose, have you ever had a case that you wanted to work on which is not your case? I mean, I've heard of cases that'd be fun to work on. I've joked about that sometimes, but I don't know. I've always had enough to keep me busy. Nick Bradley, 99 Luft balloons, both one-hit wonder, and mentions Captain Kirk. And there was an English version and, of course, the German version. And Luft balloons, many people mistakenly thought Luft meant red, because when they did the English version, they called it 99 red balloons. And I actually heard somebody arguing once with somebody going, no, it means red. Oh, the Luftwaffe, the Red Force. Louis Daniel Mesa, David Hasselhoff also sings. I don't know if it's good or bad, but he's out there. That's true. The Germans love David Hasselhoff, as Norm Macdonald used to always say. And there's that great scene in High Fidelity where John Cusack is listening to the people who work at his record store arguing amongst themselves. And one guy goes, oh yeah, who are your musical heroes? And the guy goes, you wouldn't understand. The guy goes, tell me. It's mainly obscure German groups that are above you. And he goes, what? Kraftwerk? Falco? Hasselhoff? No. I like Falco. But Kraftwerk, Falco, Hasselhoff? Oh. William Hurl says David and Richard did the 1-2 swap 63 times. 63 times. Tindor Tailgater says Del Shannon was from Coopersville, Michigan, which I said about 10 minutes ago. I've been to Coopersville twice and spoken at their historical society, and they have a little corner of a museum dedicated to him. 65 is not elderly. I've got my wisdom teeth too. I think it's a big-headed Scandinavian thing. Yeah, I've got my wisdom teeth. And anytime I come to a new doctor, new dentist, I was like, oh my gosh, you've got your wisdom teeth. I've actually had a dentist call in people to come look at my mouth. Daniel Kester, AJ Foyt came in second, the Indy 500 the most times, and he also won it 4 times. I love AJ Foyt. As far as Indy cars go, my favorite was AJ Foyt. Jerry Dodge Ramstein. Du hast. Tim Nossum, Richard Petty's a legend. Yeah, I've interviewed Richard Petty too. He's a very, very nice guy. Carl's Corner says 99 Lift Balloons is a war song. Well, it's an anti-war song. It's pointing out the fragility of society when there are thermonuclear weapons being bandied about. Rambler CDT says pilot stops skydiver jumping from hot air balloon. We should have all died. Watch this. Didn't we talk about this last week? I'm not sure. I've not seen the video that you're referring to, but I'll check it out. Yeah, Peter Mandick says, did you see it? David Lee bought that 62 Ferrari GTO for $38 million, and it wasn't even red. It was white. But number one, I saw it. But number two, I think that's why it only sold for $38 million instead of like $55 million, because it's the wrong color. Ilya Sarian, I loved High Fidelity. It's a great book, too. It's one of the rare books that was adapted to a movie, completely redone in a roundabout way, and it still worked. Because the original, of course, is a Nick Hornby novel set in London, I believe. And High Fidelity is set in Chicago with John Cusack. And it is done so well. I saw it at the theater when it first came out. I'd already read the book, and it's fabulous. Austin P. Foster says, don't turn around. There are commissars in town. Vienna Calling also is a great song off of Falco 3. I believe Der Kommissar is off his first album. Dan Boyd, Richard Petty bumped fewer cars out of his way. Yeah, Richard Petty was an old school driver, was driving, always trying to drive smart and so on. And it backed up on me. Secret voice in the lock. Wow, Steve sounds like a musician or a poet. I'm neither. I'm tone deaf, and I speak in a monotone, especially if I'm not paying attention. Darkwood, how did wisdom teeth get that name? I'd always heard it's because they came in later in life, and the thinking was that you were mature, and that's these teeth that came in, and some of them got connected that way. John Michael Karma, King Crimson Epitaph. King Crimson's a kind of not obscure band, but they didn't get a lot of radio airplay. But they're very talented people. Daniel Kester, AJ was the first to win the Indy 500 4 times. Secret voice unlocks says, I got my wisdom teeth half removed. That means you got 2 pulled out completely or all 4 halfway. Oh, Arts 4014 says the white GTO 250 doesn't have its original engine, hence the lower price. See, I can't talk about GTO Ferraris because I get accused of making stuff up. Fast Eddie, what's your t-shirt count up to? I've got about 150 over here that are in the current rotation, but I picked up 4 new shirts today, I believe. So I'm always got more coming and going. Hazel Montgomery, how many words to a song can we type before you would get copyrighted, or would you? Typing words to lyrics here? Oh, no, that wouldn't happen at all. Tim Nossum, didn't DJ Steve Dahl break a bunch of records in Chicago in 1979? Yes, he did. Steve Dahl's disc jockey in Chicago. He came from Detroit originally, went to Chicago and had a disco demolition night at the at the baseball game. And it was a doubleheader between them and the Detroit Tigers. And between games, they let people bring records out into the field where they're going to blow them up. And they gave you a discounted admission if you brought a disco record with you to contribute to the bonfire. And it caused such a commotion between the games that they forfeited the second game. But it made Steve Dahl infamous. People in radio fantasize about that kind of publicity. I mean, he was all over the news for like 6 months. Robert Torres says, my optometrist was a Dr. Commissar. Hey, Dr. Commissar. Wild Bill, I know that you like watches. Paul Newman's Rolex Daytona sold at auction for 17.75 plus a buyer's premium. Wow. Yeah, I just saw that a Pink Floyd guitar sold last week for a ton of money. Most ever for a guitar. And it's like, okay, if you got too much money, I guess, but Mia's Tarot says the wisdom teeth affect your speech. Um, Interesting, because I know that one of my older brothers had his wisdom teeth pulled rather late in life, and it also changed the outline of his cheeks, and they looked a little more sunken, and it always disturbed me. Dan Boy Disco Demo was legendary. Sports 2026. What was your first car? Well, the first car I owned was a '69 Dodge Charger with a 383. First car I got to drive on a regular basis, though, was a green Gremlin. So, blah, blah, blah. Message retracted. It's like name and address withheld. Oh. Ford rules CD Burlock's fastest NASCAR qualifying lap was an '80s Ford Bill Elliott best like driver. You got to remember though that NASCAR has been playing with speeds on the tracks ever since I don't know, about 1968. So there's all kinds of restrictor plates and then body modifications, and they change things, and so they can, it's like the Indy cars. If they want to, they can be doing 230, or they can bring them back down to 200, and they just do that because they're trying to figure out what's best for the audience. So R.H. Donnelly just finished the Indiana data video as a Hoosier. I'm disgusted but not surprised. Great video. Well, thank you. And I'm telling you right now, it's the thing that more people would get on board with, but the politicians just don't care. And the amount of money they make off it is just not worth it. But there's big lobbying groups that are paying the politicians to vote in favor of this stuff. And I don't know if you remember this now, but about 20 years ago, they brought a bunch of these data brokers into Congress in D.C. and put them under oath, and they all took the fifth because they know they're all breaking the law. They don't care. Stop Spamming Us One Night in Bangkok was about a chess tournament. Of course it was. It's from a musical called Chess, wasn't it? It was a great song. Ilya Sarian says Jeff Lynne is the best. And I would agree with that. I saw Jeff Lynne's ELO in Detroit. I sat in the front row. I like to tell people about 3 years ago. Luke Kachansky, I've watched many of your videos and just want to say thank you. I'm happy to catch you live. And I'm glad you stopped in. Thank you very much. Thanks for saying hello. I appreciate that. Wade Pittenger, a 1970 Chrysler New Yorker with a 440. You don't need to tell us it's a non-Hemi because it's not a 426 in 70. Terrible gas mileage. Oh, Chrysler New Yorker probably weighed like 19,000 pounds, right? Arts 4014. If I sent you an old pocket watch, hold on, where'd it go? Am I losing my mind? Oh, message retracted. That's halfway through the sentence. Monkey Face, spelled with a U. Hello, Steve from Sudbury, Ontario. Ford rules CD Burlock. Steve is blind to my comments. Well, I just read one of your comments about NASCAR and qualifying times. Isn't that what we were talking about? Echo Tracks. I just realized this live stream is you doing Letterman's answering the viewer mail bit. Name and address withheld. No, name and address withheld is from another magazine. I mean, Letterman did do letters, but the thing is, I mean, he routinely said who they're from. Now, see, Arts 4014, if I read this, are you going to delete it or can I read the whole thing? If I sent you an old railroad pocket watch, would you wear it or put it on the set? I wouldn't wear it because number one, I've got a watch on my arm, but I also don't like having things like that in my pocket. I'd put it on the set. I try to find a place where it'd be visible so people could see it as a pocket watch. Sports. Did you go to Detroit Tigers games? Yes, I've been to a few games at Comerica Park, and I went to a lot of games at Tiger Stadium. I was at Game 5 in 1984 when Kirk Gibson hit the home run off Goose Gossage, and I'll tell you that every single time if you ask me about the Detroit Tigers. There's no way I can ever top that for a sporting event. Now, I guess if I had gone to see the Wolverines, Michigan's football team, back when they won the Rose Bowl and won out that one season with Brian Greasy, that would have been cool also. But that would have involved me also taking a big trip. But I was actually in the stands watching that game with Kirk Gibson and Goose Gossage and the 84 Tigers. It was amazing. Arthur Yan. Love your videos from Southern Arkansas. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Ford Rules, CD Burlock, rarest guitar in the world, Led Zeppelin's dual neck Stratocaster, stolen and never recovered. Is that the one he played and song remains the same? I seem to recall seeing a dual neck guitar on that. And also playing the violin bow. Monkey Face was born in 84. Sports. Yeah, Sparky Anderson. That's the famous, there's a bunch of things about that game that people remember. And Kirk Gibson's walking up to the plate. And Sparky Anderson goes like this. And Kirk Gibson looks back and goes like this. And people were speculating, what were those hand signals? And Sparky Anderson had told Kirk Gibson they're going to walk you. And Kirk Gibson goes, I bet you they don't. And Sparky Anderson goes, they're going to walk you. 4 balls. And Kirk Gibson goes, I bet you $5 they don't. And he launched one into the upper deck. And so Sparky lost that bet, but I don't think he cared. William Harrell, who would watch NASCAR? They went back to actual cars we drive around every day like they're meant to be. Absolutely. All day long and twice on Sunday. Absolutely. Sig226, Goose Gossage had a good long career. Oh, absolutely. Goose Gossage was a stud. But the thing about it is that, you know, every hero, there's going to be a moment where they get taken down. NZ, Kiwi NZ, good morning from New Zealand. And good morning to you, my friend. Thank you for checking. I appreciate that. John Michael Karma, get a tattoo, 84 Tigers. I was there. That wouldn't be my first tattoo, but thanks. Echo Tracks, I missed the original Big Ten football conference. Now it's like the Big 28. I don't even know how many teams are in it. And I'm joking and I don't care. So don't bother typing in, Steve, here's how many there are. There's like schools in California in the Big Ten. It makes no sense at all. It's just stupid. XRP Plumbing. Do you know any good civil rights attorneys? Depends what state you're in. Because I'm assuming you're going to file an action there, right? You got to find a local attorney who does that. Tin-Door Tailgater Briggs Stadium. Briggs Stadium. That's where the Tigers played before Tiger Stadium. It goes way back. Tim Nossum seeing the 84 Tigers as a slice of American history. Americana. Yeah, you know what's funny is I know people live in Los Angeles and they talk about Kirk Gibson like he's their guy. They're like, but he hit that one home run where he limped around the bases. And I'm like, Yeah, that's after he did that in '84 with the Tigers. He wasn't limping though. Old McDonald has a car. I was at the Tiger game when Pudge hit the walk-off grand slam to win the game in the bottom of the ninth. I mentioned the other day that a friend of mine, his son plays Major League Baseball, and right now he's playing minor league ball with the team. Like last year, he was in the minor leagues, but in spring training, they let him come up and play with the big guys. And he's having a very good year, too. So, Ford rules, CD Burlock, Jennifer, my first and only DMV driving test was in a 1968 Pontiac station wagon in 75. Never did a written test since, only took picture 3 times. Okay. Oh, DePaul points out that U of M is playing for the Big Ten Conference Championship this afternoon. Go Blue. Yeah. If they don't screw up, they should also do well in the NCAA. Marty Deval, why can corporations not be named when they mess up from your story earlier today? But if I get a ticket, it's public knowledge. I agree. That was one of the things I found so surprising. They're like, well, we can't divulge the names of the people that we busted, but we can sell your information to them. John Michael Karma, Michigan and Trumbull. Yeah, that's the famous intersection. One of the intersections that the Tiger Stadium was at. Daniel Kester, if it were found out that the moon landings were in fact a hoax, could someone sue the government for it? I got a question for you. What would your legal theory be? Fraud? How are you harmed? I mean, you believed something that wasn't true, but did it hurt you? How'd you monetize your damages? Jellies Kelly, 1244. In your opinion, does the style of watch lawyers wear tell anything about what type of lawyer they are? No, not at all. It'll tell you what kind of a person they are. Because I'll be honest, I like this is a Breitling, and I like Breitling watches because to me they're like little works of art. They're a little mechanical. They're just so cool. I like if I got to look at something on my arm all day long, besides to tell time, I like it. It looks cool. I like it looks cool, and that's just it. But I knew an attorney once who bought himself a Rolex, the gaudiest Rolex he could buy, and I'm like, why did you buy that? And he goes, I've got clients who go, oh, you're a lawyer and you wear that cheap watch. He goes, so I just bought one that looks expensive. So stop saying that. Oh boy. Mitch, we're about to get many feet of snow here in Ishpeming. I shouldn't have sold my deuce and a half. We were just talking about the snow in the Upper Peninsula where they're talking about getting it in feet, not inches. Ishpeming's, of course, up near Marquette, sort of. And that's the middle part of the peninsula. And they're talking about that getting hammered, not the Keweenaw so much as it's mainly the middle part. Oh my! And and they've already gotten so much snow this year. I think it's going to be a record-setting year, isn't it? John Michael Karmas is the damage in a lawsuit about a moon landing hoax would be he was tricked into buying moon pies. Michael Doherty says that they won't give you the names of the corporations. Maybe they'll sell them to you. Oh. Leo the Nomad, regarding your felony murder example that you gave in a video a couple days ago, could Adam, because I said A, B, and C, Adam, from your example, used being unconscious when the car was taken as a defense. No, because they'd say you were conscious when you planned the crime. And so the fact that you're unconscious or sleeping or later doesn't matter. The only way to get out of a conspiracy charge is if you take steps to stop it. So let's suppose that you and your buddies sat down and planned a crime, and they go, "Let's go do it." And you go, "I changed my mind, guys." If you just simply sat down and they wouldn't have committed the crime, they could still come after you. The police could for conspiracy, possibly. However, if you called the police immediately and said, "Hey, there's some guys who are about to commit a crime, and I don't want to be involved in this," if you take steps to stop it, that's how you get out of it. Aviva Rabinowitz says that his father was an engineer that worked on the lunar excursion module. It really did land on the moon. Sure, it did. No, I'm just kidding. Oh. One heavy elements is howdy neighbor. Your people are from Finland. Mine are from Norway. Of course, we've been here for a few generations longer. My father's done my family's genealogy back to like I think the 1500s, 1600s, back to Finland, and he had to go there to do it, church records and so on. Mia's Tarot says if you're asleep, you can't commit the crime typically. Yeah, but the crime is committed when you planned it. You're planning on committing a crime. So, oh boy. STP points out that everything is for sale. Generally speaking, yes. Yes. Wade Pittenger, how many contacts in your personal phone since you work with the public? You mean my cell phone? Not that many. William Harrell, if you were given the chance to drive a 500-mile stock car race, what car would you bring? You mean I got to bring my own car or I get to pick one? Because nowadays, they're all the same, right? They just call them different cars, but they're not really different. Mia's Tarot says, what crime was it? I missed that video. So I gave the example. We're talking about felony murder. And that's the notion at common law that if I commit a felony and somebody dies as a result, not only can I be convicted of the felony itself, but I can be convicted of felony murder. So if I go to rob a bank and the cops show up and there's a shootout and they shoot each other and I get away, well, I can be charged with bank robbery. And if one of those cops dies, I can be charged with felony murder. Absolutely. In many states. And so if you want to complicate the story, you then say, okay, there's a conspiracy to commit a robbery, and one guy stays at home, and the other guys go off and commit the robbery, and somebody dies. The guy who stayed at home can be charged with felony murder, and that's actually an example from real life. There's a famous story about a guy in Florida, I forgot his name, who was talking to his friends about committing a crime. They're going to use his car, and he changed his mind at the last minute, didn't go. And he still got convicted of that and went up on appeal, and it doesn't matter. STP World, did you ever go to Al Jean's hardware store in Farmington, Michigan? Al Jean's one of the creators of The Simpsons. No, I have not. I'm not even sure which one it is. There's a couple old hardware stores in Farmington Hills, but my office was in Farmington Hills for a while, but I didn't go to the hardware store for my office very often. 116-3562, the getaway driver sitting in the car who never went at the bank could also get charged. Oh, of course. Of course. Mia's Tarot because they didn't tell. No, it's because of the felony murder rule. He was involved in the conspiracy to commit a felony. Someone died as a result of the felony. Therefore, he's guilty. Yeah, Chuck Whitehead, you can think about doing a crime but not do one. It's kind of like Twilight Zone. There's a couple of episodes about people thinking out loud and whatnot. The prodigal stranger can porch pirates who get paint bombed, press charges. Well, first of all, you need to understand that a lot of those videos are fake. In fact, a lot of them are AI. They're not even real, but some of them are setups. And I remember there's a very, very famous one where a guy got millions and millions of views on one, and somebody pointed out that the guy who picked up the package was a friend of the guy who created the video, and they admitted it. Like, yeah, we did that, and there you go. Belio, knowing the Finns' love of silence and solitude, how'd your father get anyone to talk to him? He didn't. He went and looked up church records. Seriously, he went to churches, looked at baptism records, birth records, death records, and marriage records. And the churches in Finland keep really good records. Bob blah blah just knows something is going to happen but did not plan it. Believe it or not, there's a good argument to be made that just because you knew something was going to happen doesn't create criminal liability on your part. The question is, could it create civil liability on your part? Could somebody say that because you didn't get involved, somebody got injured? But that's the difference between malfeasance and nonfeasance. I kid you not. But thank you. It's the first time I've used the word nonfeasance out loud in about 10 years. Peter Mandix, did anybody see it? Nokia Tire is introducing Nokia Tire retractable stud snow tires for next season. No. Are they expensive? Fill up the script. What are your thoughts on Tommy Thompson? Do you think he's going to be harassed by the feds? And of course, that's the guy who sat in jail for 10 years on 2 contempt charges for not wanting to give up the information about where the gold is, which he says he can't remember, and nobody believes him, including the court. He's got a couple of huge judgments against him, and I suspect he'll disappear. I suspect he will wind up in another country, if I had to guess. Miko Angel, did you know the opposite of placebo is nocebo, as in a pill with no effect, but you get the bad placebo effects? Okay. Steve's recording tips. Standing quarter mile, which of your cars would win the Cobra? Probably. It would probably be close, but the Cobra's got more horsepower but weighs 900 pounds less. Oh, boy. Mia's Taros' public law demands everyone has to prevent crime. Public law. What do you mean by public law? Is there an actual law in the books that says that? SIG 226, isn't that gold still property of the government? No, I don't even think the government made a claim. I know that a lot of it had something to do with banks, but I believe it was private banks that were bringing the money, but I could be wrong. But a bunch of insurance companies claimed it. And I know that when he pulled into port the first time, they got served with a stack of lawsuits. And so, I mean, the guy, Tommy Thompson, had every right to be upset at the way that whole thing played out, but the investors did too. The prodigal stranger sounds Seinfeldian that everyone has to prevent crime. You, you, you can't just be a bystander. You got to get involved. You can call me Al. You are often imitated but never duplicated. Me specifically, or is all of us? John Zablek, where are bitcoins minted? In some kind of imaginary Bitcoin mint. I mean, I know they're mined by computers and all that, but I don't have a lot of my wealth stored in Bitcoin. Oh. Johnny Quest, what does the Backdraft Cobra speedometer max out at? I'm not sure. Hang on. I think I've got some pictures here somewhere. Or as Peterman would say, I've got a coupon for that. Hang on. Oh boy. The speedometer maxes out at 200. So, and right now it's got 2,000 miles in the odometer, 2,200. Oh, and the red line's at 7,000. Never quite spun it up that fast before. Prince Alberts, if I don't want to be a bystander, can I be a bysitter? I used to tell my trial practice class for closing arguments, Jackie Child's closing argument was brilliant. Because my clients are accused of being guilty bystanders. And yet we all know bystanders are innocent. Innocent bystander. That's what it means to be a bystander. You're innocent. It's genius. Oh. Steve's recording tips. Wow, 200. I probably wouldn't want to see it going that fast. I suspect it would get windy. Go for broke 513. I gave you a like because you never say, give me a like. Oh, that's right. I don't. You can call me Al. Yes, you. Thank you. Mia's Tarot, it's like if you see a kid drowning in a river and don't call for help, you are liable. Criminally, in most states, no. It might not be nice, but if you didn't push the kid in, that's the whole difference between malfeasance and nonfeasance. Ford rules CD Burlock, which engine? 289. Oh, no, I've got the it's a third generation Roush Coyote. Third generation Roush Coyote. You can look it up. All aluminum. It's an upgrade from the old days. Ilya Sarian, outrageous, egregious, preposterous. Oh. Lock Watcher back in a bit. Okay, we'll wait. Everyone just sit tight. One heavy element, one of my brothers is building a Cobra from the ground up, except for the drivetrain, shell, and a few other parts that he can't machine. Like, is he making his own frame and suspension and so on? 116-3562 would be the best way to get my cycle endorsement. Believe it or not, my brother just got his, and he actually went through the thing where you take the class and all that stuff. Yeah, Arts 4014, my 1970 Pontiac has a factory speedo that goes to 160. The car doesn't. No, they used to do that all the time. It's like wishful thinking. Oh boy. Darkwood, is there anything that Seinfeld didn't cover? And by the way, if not, at least The Simpsons covered it. Although again, today I put up on Facebook, the ironing is delicious, and then I put up my YouTube video because I thought the irony was good in the story. And I always get somebody who goes, Steve, uh, you meant irony. Yeah, okay. Mia's Tarot, I don't mean to argue, but you keep posting this and you say it's basic public law. Is there a citation for this public law, or can you point me to case law where a Supreme Court of a state has said that a person who sees somebody else in peril must take steps, otherwise they're criminally liable for that? Because simply stating the law is kind of like saying, well, you know how this works, medicine, or science. So these pretzels are making me thirsty. Mike Lackner. Oh boy. Steve's recordings tips says I always wanted a speedo that showed percent of light speed. It's kind of like when you're on board you know, the Concorde, and it show you how close you're getting to Mach 1. Fast Eddie, do you think there's any point in your life to be too old to drive your cars? Or do you hold on to them? I'm worried there's going to come a time where I can't get in and out of them. I'm not kidding you. The Viper is an exercise to get into and out of. And the guy I bought mine from was an older doctor who said that he's having trouble getting in and out of it. He's like, I can't get into it anymore. It's not comfortable. Yo, sorry, and what are you on about? I got to risk my life to save a drowning person no matter what? No, I'm taking the counter to that position. Prodigal stranger. Do those sound like the actions of a man who had all he could eat? Oh boy. Jerry Dodge, my password is the last 10 digits of pi. The last 10. The first 10 would probably work too. Gotcha. It's there in. Oh boy. Pi. Oh. Arts 4014 points out that my Viper has indeed been owned by doctors and lawyers its entire life. And the first guy only drove it 4,000 miles. Steve G9674, California has a good Samaritan law. A couple states do, but I never followed how they developed. I just know that obviously it was the plot point in the finale of Seinfeld. So Joey C says Oakland Community College has motorcycle classes also. Yeah, there's a bunch of places that have them. It's a question of how much time it's going to take, what it'll cost. Mike Lackner's wife wanted an MGB. They went to buy one and she tried getting into it. That ruined the deal. Yeah, no, people don't understand. Some cute little cars for taller folk are not so comfortable. And I'm 6'2". I know I don't look that tall on camera, but I'm 6'2". So Fast Eddie, I took mine at community college in New York. Still have my motorcycle license, but haven't had a motorcycle in 25 years. TCMH Music. A welcome face. Oh, Mexican spec, you look much shorter when you're sitting down. Presumably, yes. Oh. Jerry Dodge, I don't think I've ever seen him standing up. I've shot videos from walking around. I shot the video when I first got my Cobra, for instance. I'm walking around it talking to Mark Lieberman about it. Fast Eddie, what's the most miles you've ever seen on a Viper? I never checked that, and I've heard people complain about them and say that the motors don't hold up, but mine's doing just fine. Now, it's only got 10 or 12,000 miles on it, but I also run Mobile One in it, which is what they recommend. And I obviously take very good care of it and never accelerate harshly with it either. Oh, RX 4014. I love Jag E types. I literally cannot get into the driver's seat without surgery. I've never sat in a Jaguar. I've climbed into a few cars that were difficult. I mentioned a couple weeks ago I got into a Lotus Esprit Turbo. Oh my! I loved those cars until I tried riding in one. I'm like, no, I guess not. Alive 28697. Steve is oblivious about the new tortilla laws. I will admit I do not know what you're talking about. Don LaRusse, Arizona requires one to assist an officer if asked to do so, but that would be involuntary servitude, no doubt. Yeah, and keep in mind, there's a lot of laws like that on books that might not be enforceable, meaning that has anybody ever litigated that? You know? Forbin Colossus, the Viper is a death car. Lots written about its propensity to break loose. Primarily that people were reviewing them who didn't own them. But like my Viper doesn't have anti-lock brakes, does not have traction control. But I know that. Okay. And I'm used to it. And it hasn't killed me. Okay, as far as I know. Now, I tell people the Viper wants to kill me. The Cobra is actively like hunting me down. Oh boy. Ian Gotti, I'm so tall I have to open the sunroof. Oh. Um, I went for a ride with Mark Lieberman, my friend who owns Nostalgic Motors, and in a Baldy Frog, which is like a shopping cart with a fiberglass body around it, and it has a sunroof. And driving down the road, both of our heads are sticking out the top. Oh boy. Tim Nossum, Vipers and certain Corvettes can't do the standard Colorado emissions because of their giant tires not working on the tiny dyno rollers. Oh, they actually do the emissions test on dynos? Ugh. In Michigan, they used to have an emissions test. They just stuck a thing up the tailpipe and just measured it that way. But yeah, no, the tires of my Viper are about this wide. My Cobra's got big fat tires too. So the prodigal stranger says that's why it was always sunny on Magnum PI because Tom Selleck couldn't fit in the Ferrari with a top on. I'd never watched Magnum PI, but I know people who did, and I know that Magnum PI also always had a connection for some odd reason with the Detroit Tigers to such an extent that the Detroit Tigers will actually have a Magnum PI day where guys and gals wear those Hawaiian shirts to the game, which I just never quite got, but whatever. Yeah, 116-3562. Yeah, you did tell us last week that you were playing one of my videos at work, and an Oakland County deputy came in and said, I know that guy. Hey, I've ticketed that guy. No, I'm just joking. Johnny Knoxville's in the house regarding regards all. Yeah, I saw the R. That was going to be an RE20 for the microphone. But hey, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you. TCMH music. Curious why certain counties have emissions testing, others don't. It goes back to the EPA, the federal government. And there were certain standards that if you were not, if your air wasn't clean enough, and they thought you could clean it up by cracking down on that. So for a brief period of time in the mid 1980s, Tri-County area in Michigan, Oakland, Wayne, and Macomb counties had tailpipe emissions. And you go to a gas station, they stick a thing in your tailpipe, and if you passed, you could go get a license plate. And if you didn't pass, you had to get it fixed. So Ford rules CD Burlock. Did you choose no anti-lock brakes? The cards didn't come with them. Belio, those tires aren't fat; they just look big boned. Yeah, no, I think this color just makes my tires look fat. Sig 226 isn't Tom Selleck from Detroit? I think originally he might be. Yeah, Johnny Knoxville says, "What's going on? We don't have Magnum PI, no A Team, no Starsky and Hutch, no TJ Hooker." Oh boy. Oh, Foreman Colossus's automobile inspections in New York State rejected cars for rust. I got an angry phone call from a guy once who called me. He goes, "Steve, I just bought a car from an auction in Michigan, and I had it shipped here, and it won't pass an inspection." I said, "Okay, what's why are you calling me?" And he goes, "I want to sue the auction." I go, "For what?" And he goes, "It won't pass an inspection." I said, "Did they tell you it would?" And he's, "What do you mean?" I said, "Did they tell you it would?" And he goes, "Well, it wouldn't pass an inspection in Michigan either." I go, "We don't have inspections." He goes, "What?" Oh boy. Ford rules CD Burlock's Coyote engine plus no ALB and no ABS, asking for trouble. Okay. Trouble's my middle name. Prince Alberts says no Vipers hit anti-lock brakes. Not even the last years of them. I thought they added them later on, but yeah, Tom Selleck was born in Detroit, Johnny Knoxville. I just never equated him as being from Detroit, other than being born here. I think he moved out west very early on, but I could be wrong. Tim Noss, ever driven a Generation 1 Viper? No, but I've driven a couple Gen 2s. Johnny Knoxville, Tom Selleck was in the California National Guard from 1967 to 1973. Foreman Colossus, I drove a friend's Viper in 2005, but I pussyfooted it. I generally don't let other people drive my Viper. I let people drive my Cobra, but that's got the automatic in it. So, but I don't like letting other people drive my clutch vehicles. And my Jeep Wrangler is a clutch also. Arts 4014, do not taunt the happy fun ball. Whatever you do. Jonathan got nice. First time catching Steve live. Maybe all those factor meals saved him time enough to do this. Well, I've been doing these on Sundays for quite some time now, but yeah. Sig 226. Harry Morgan was also from Detroit. Yes. The lesser favorite Colonel from MASH. Mark Miller, can we start over? Well, you were here at the very beginning, weren't you? Yeah, 116-3562. There was a hockey team called the Detroit Vipers, owned by Chrysler. They played up in Auburn Hills also. And they did that as a gimmick because, of course, the Dodge Viper, which don't get me wrong, I mean, the Anaheim Ducks, right? Yeah, Johnny Knoxville says, according to Wikipedia, Gen 3 and 4 Vipers had ABS. I thought they added it later. Jerry Dodge can't drive a manual. Get out. Joe Cram, I really enjoy your Sunday lives. Thank you. I appreciate that. Johnny Knoxville, the Gen 5 had ABS. Johnny Knoxville, the Flint Spirits. I saw him play a million times. I used to get free tickets from WTRX in Flint. Mustang MG05. So what happens if the leprechaun sees his shadow? Johnny Knoxville, the Muskegon Lumberjacks. It's kind of funny. I was not that aware of minor league hockey because I grew up in Detroit, so we had the Red Wings. And when I was working in Flint, I heard about the Flint Spirits, and they've had a bunch of different names. Now it's the Flint Firebirds, which makes no sense at all. But minor league hockey is fun because you can get tickets right up against the glass for almost nothing. You can yell at the players, and the players will yell back at you. Prince Albert's now moves to strike his previous comment regarding ABS. No, but the comment is actually you make a very good point that they did not put it on until they had to. I think the feds required it at some point, and they did not put it on. Number one, because I'm assuming they were in a hurry to make the things. Number two, it would probably make the vehicle slightly lighter. And number three, they thought that true drivers won't like it. But go on to YouTube and type in Viper Crash and watch what comes up. And it's ugly. Yeah, the American Hockey League is a bunch of these smaller hockey leagues with teams like, the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds or whatever. And, it's a place for the up-and-coming players. And sometimes they'll make it the big league. Sometimes they won't, but it's fun to watch. And they're usually higher scoring games. None of this 1-0 nail biters, 12-9. Mike Terrell has got to go. Thanks for stopping in. Yeah, Johnny Knoxville AHL hockey is like real life. A real life slap shot, the movie. Miko Angel, hey, Steve, is being in court fun? It can be, but it can also be a drag. It depends on what you're doing. I hate to break the news to most of my clients, but the bulk of what we do is sit around and wait. So I've had to meet a client in court and say, we got a hearing at 1 o'clock, 1:30. We get there at 1:30. And we don't get called till 4 o'clock. And they're like, wait, we just sat there for 3 hours. I'm like, yeah, it happens all the time. Yeah, 116-3562. So they had Viper games where you could get in by just bringing donations that they donated to local soup kitchens. And Johnny Knoxville, their feeder teams for the NHL. Yeah. Dan Boyd, a guy in the west side of Cincinnati, wrecked a Viper pretty badly about 10 or 15 years ago. AHL, the Syracuse Crunch. Now, are they named after the action of crunching something or after cereal? DePaul 31. Forbin Colossus, what year did cars begin having tracking and data recording devices? Was it GM's OnStar program? I don't know if they were the first, but it was right around then when the technology became available. So, yeah, Bob Loblaw says I can turn traction control on and off, but I don't believe I can turn off the ABS. I don't think you can either. I have nothing against ABS. I don't. I have it on other vehicles, Yassarian just saw my neighbor's tree get blown over, like right now in real time. Wow. Johnny Knoxville, my former boss, Bob Allen, was from Novi, Michigan. Huge hockey fan. He hated when I mentioned the movie Slapshot. Really? It's a fun movie. Sometimes I listen to myself. Do your clients have to pay you for that time? Not in my world, no. Because when I'm in court on criminal matters, which doesn't happen as often anymore, I charge a flat rate. I don't charge by the hour. And on my civil cases that settle, I usually get paid by the other side, and it all comes out in the wash. But I know people who've hired attorneys by the hour, and they're like, "Yeah, I sat with the guy for 5 hours, didn't do anything. And I got paid the guy less money." So, Belio, no, I don't. I don't bill my client for the time. Yeah, DePaul thinks the crunch might be named that because they crunched their opponents into the boards. Believe in yourself is just checking in to say hello. In a networking mastermind, just wanted to say howdy. Yeah, I don't think the wind is that bad for me. I'm looking at the treetops, nothing crazy. But like I said the other day, we had 70-mile-an-hour gusts. Forbin Colossus, was there a peak year or era for lemons or hidden recalls? Well, the peak era for lemons is right now. I kid you not. I kid you not. I get so many phone calls right now, and it's almost always the same. I brought the brand new car. It's got the problem. Took it to the shop. They go, "We can't fix it." Was we're waiting for parts. How long has it been there? 45 days. Yeah, and Johnny Knoxville says right now might be a good time to become a civil rights lawyer with AI falsely accusing people. Line up those lawsuits like the UPS trucker in Reno, falsely arrested. Or the woman who got arrested in Tennessee for a crime in North Dakota where she'd never been. Oh, boy. Dan Boyd, new car quality reached a previous low in the early 70s. Yeah, but of course, many lemon laws hadn't been passed yet. But yeah, no, there was a time when the car companies actually didn't care. They would just ship cars to dealerships, go, "It's got problems, you guys fix it, and we'll pay you." And the number of repairs that needed to be done on cars pre-delivery was sky high. Forbin Colossus, were you amazed when VW's massive faked emissions testing was revealed? Yes. I couldn't believe that they did that. And the fact they had to buy all those cars back is crazy. Blissful Essence, love you in your chat, Mr. Lehto. Gotta go. Thank you. Bob Loblaw says it was well-known fact that you could tell which Camaro was built after lunch. I saw a thing on TV in the last few years where somebody narked out some workers, I believe for Chrysler, Stellantis, at a plant in Michigan, who during their lunch break would go and partake of the medical marijuana sitting in their vehicles and then go back to work. And so one of the TV stations dragged out a camera and filmed it all, and then filmed them walking back in to start assembling cars again. And some very, very uneasy questioning happened on camera. Do you really think you should be doing that during your lunch break? And they're like, "Get out of here." 1163562. I can't remember which reporter it was, whether it was their troubleshooter guy or not. Foreman Colossus, are Michigan's Upper Peninsula people a different breed? Would you live there? My family lived up there before I was born, and I've spent a lot of time up there. Um, I would have a difficult time in the winter. You have to have a different mindset to live someplace where you get like 3 hours of daylight, and the snow is literally 12 feet deep outside your window. So John Zablek, what did Kramer drive? Wasn't it a big old Chevy? I thought it was like an Impala, maybe. 116-356. It was Rob Wolchek. It was Rob Wolchek with the workers out in the parking lot taking a smoke break. Yeah, Johnny Knoxville. Snow is a fun thing to visit, not to live in. Yeah, it's like a fun place to visit. You wouldn't want to live there, but I mean, I've spent weeks on end in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I've literally gone up there for 2 weeks at a time, 3 weeks at a time. I love it up there in the summertime, but living up there would be very, very difficult. Darkwood, what is the main industry in the UP? Logging is a big industry. There is some mining up there. Um, they're trying really hard to get tourism up. There are a couple of universities up there that do employ a lot of people. Michigan Tech and Northern Michigan University. American Tourist thinks it was an Impala also. Yeah, I was thinking it was an Impala that Kramer drove that had the license plate on it. Yossarian says 73 Chevrolet Impala. And Mexican Spec confirms. Although he says 73 Chevrolet Caprice. Is that one of those cars where General Motors gave it two names, like the Chevelle Malibu? Don't get me going on that. Johnny Knoxville, Michigan Tech used to be a force in the college hockey. They still are somewhat. It depends, but Michigan Tech is usually pretty good. Michigan has actually been pretty good lately also. Belio, UP winter. Well, you didn't ask me if I wanted to live in Finland. Stefano970 says Google claims it's a 73 Impala. Stuffology9684 says the largest employer in the UP is the government. And that is because there's a couple prisons up there. There's a prison near Newberry, I believe, and there's a prison near Munising. There's also a prison in Marquette, a very old prison. Mexican Spec says the factory airbag was the rare part of Kramer's car, and he would know because he studies these things. Stuffology, my son is at Tech. Studying what? Is he a student or does he teach there? Bob Loblas is Chevy Biscayne base model, Impala mid-range, Caprice, all options. Okay, so again, the name game thing going. Johnny Knoxville, the SNL skit of the Jiffy Pop airbag, where the airbag filled with popcorn. David Peterson said a video that he saw declared that the Finns are the happiest people in the world. They've done that study a few years in a row, and the Finns are routinely at the top of the list or very, very close to it. Edge, I finally made it. How's your Sunday, Steve? It's going well. Thank you. User UF9HR5. What about the copper mining in the upper Michigan? Copper mining has not been happening for a while, except for there's some mining near Marquette, and it's not copper, it's nickel mining and a few other things. And I think they might find a little bit of copper, but that. And then there's a mine over by White Pine that opens and closes periodically. I don't think it's open right now. I think the copper mines are pretty much closed. Stuffology student who's taking engineering classes, and that's what they're known for. Michigan Tech is a very good engineering school. Peter Mandix, was the GTO a Tempest, a Le Mans, or a Ventura? See, I always assumed it was Le Mans, and then the GTO was but and I don't mind if they've got a second name that's tacked onto when it is a performance model, right? So, a Camaro Z28, I understand that. But the Chevelle Malibu, I don't know. It just never made sense to me. Robert Torre, ever read A Savage Factory regarding a worker's experience at the Ford plant? No, but I've read Rivet Head by Ben Hamper about his experience in General Motors. I'll have to take a look at that. Mark Miller, aren't the Finns also known for drinking alcohol? Alcohol and coffee. Johnny Knoxville, I watched a video of the abandoned military town of Finland, Minnesota. I knew there was a place called Finland, but I've never been there in Minnesota. Erie Place reminds me of the Pennsylvania town that had the toxic situation to clear the town. Are you talking about the town where there's a fire underground? Where there's an underground fire that they can't put out? Joey Justin going. Bye-bye. Yeah, Centralia, Pennsylvania. I'm pretty sure that's the town with the underground fire. And it's like, we can't put it out. The ground is burning. I'm assuming it's coal or something, right? Johnny Knoxville. 116-3562. I also went to Northern, but I didn't want to deal with the winter up there. I ended up going to Eastern. I knew somebody who went to Northern because her friends went there. And the first time it snowed, she came home and never went back. Yeah, underground fire, Centralia, Pennsylvania, Johnny Knoxville. 116-3562 is the reason I like coffee so much because I'm part Finnish. That could be part of the reason. Yeah, Johnny Z. Bradley points out that there's the Bronco Sport and the regular Bronco, and they have nothing to do with each other. They're on totally different architectures, and I understand that. And I think what happened was they probably had competing designs. Thought these are different enough to where we can sell them as different vehicles to different groups of people. But I don't know. Paul Thomas Harris says he found Rob Wolchek reports 14 and 9 years ago. That 9 years ago might be it, but I thought it was more recent than that. But, like I said, if you found a video 9 years ago of them taking a smoke break with the medicinal, then that probably is the story. Bob Loss is a parts of the U.S. that are so hot I wouldn't want to live there. I think I'd rather have cold than hot. Snow is a problem. Yeah, but likewise, Bob, I agree with you. If you go someplace like, I don't know, Miami in August and it's 90 degrees out and 100% humidity, you start thinking, boy, that snow doesn't sound so bad right now. Belius is Finns, alcohol, coffee, and moose blood because a moose once bit my sister. But I think the moose bit a Norwegian's sister, didn't he? Oh boy. Yeah, sorry, and I finally have the dough for a new car. Is there a good modern body on frame worth the dollars? Yeah, there aren't as many as there used to be. That's for sure. Yeah, Jay Klein, the Bronco Sport is built on the previous generation Escape. Just Mexican specs is you don't have to shovel humidity and air conditioning exists. Yeah, but I'm talking about when you like, let's suppose you to put on a suit and a tie and walk out to your car, and then you get to the courthouse and you're parked a couple hundred yards away from the front door, that kind of thing. One heavy element is, oh, I'm a Subaru tech, and we have more problems with the American-made Subarus than we do from the Japanese-built Subarus. I think it's the American thought process on making things. Jerry Dodge, bring me a shrubbery. I'm actually reading John Cleese's book right now, his autobiography. It's fabulous, absolutely fabulous. Janice Ellery, I'll take the 90-degree weather. I was born in Maine, but have lived in Fort Lauderdale 40 years. Jay Klein, I'm going to Alabama. It just jumped on me in the weirdest way. But I think Jay Klein's going to Alabama in the summertime, which sounds like that could be a country song. Oh, Mark Miller, the movie Gung Ho. The Subaru comment reminds me. Yeah, I saw that movie not so long ago. It's actually it's a fun little movie. No one. 1939. Reading your Murder House's book right now. Very good. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. I appreciate that. Belio, Finland. I heard that Finns are insulted if you call them Scandinavian. I don't know about that, but technically speaking, they are not. Finland is not considered part of Scandinavia. That's Sweden, Norway, and then like Denmark or something. I don't understand, geography, but it's more of a, I don't know. 116-3562. When's your next book signing? Don't have anything planned just yet. Although I'm speaking in Roseville again this summer, about Tucker, I think. Jay Klein, July, August, and September. Daughter going to the University of Alabama, going down there to hang out and check out the Crimson Tide. Louis Daniel Mesa, your thoughts on Toyota Lexus? I've never owned one for obvious reasons. But I'll tell you right now, I don't get as many calls about them as they do about, I don't know, Jeeps. Oh. Lockwatcher, there's a farm next door and they're putting in houses, and contractors located a grave marker at the back of a field. They contacted the developer, no news yet. Grave marker from 1972. That's not that far back. 1972? I've heard stories before, people doing construction work and finding grave markers, but 1972? That's surprising. You think they would know about that? Yeah, Jay Klein, it's orientation, move in, and parents' weekend. 116-3562. As a Mopar guy, you must cringe with all the calls you get about Chrysler. Modern cars, all bets are off. But it's a shame what became of the company, you know. But John Zablak, smorgasbord is a buffet style meal of Swedish origin. What did the Finns eat? Um, the Finns aren't known for their cuisine. You don't go to New York City and go, bring me to the finest Finnish restaurant. Janie Segrist, good morning, almost afternoon, everybody. It is actually quite afternoon for us, but it's different for everybody. Blah blah blah. Hey Steve, is it legal to bury someone's ashes anywhere you want? I've heard that there are laws in some places that talk about people's ashes being remains, and you might not be allowed to just fling them anywhere you want. But like burying them on your own property, knock yourself out. Dr. Rick, Steve, I really enjoyed your stream today. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Miko Angel says, speaking of cuisine, y'all got to try a Danish Stjerneskud, which is a shooting star. Arts 4014, Finns like mushrooms. I like mushrooms. I guess Finns probably do because they got a lot of forests. They probably also like a lot of fish things, a lot of lakes. Johnny Z, first smorgasbord I ever ate, that was called the Sweden House in Elyria, Ohio. There's one of those in Michigan too. My mom loved that place. Oh, she loved that place. STP World, have you ever talked to Dave Coulier? He's from Michigan. I knew that, but I've never met him. Yeah, 116-3562. Lee Iacocca turned Chrysler around, and by that, he saved it. Chrysler was about to auger into the ground in one of the biggest bankruptcies in like history, and he talked the government into lending them some money to bail them out, and then they paid the money back early. You're right. He also bought Jeep. He's also in charge of was it the K car, and then the minivan, and he was in the commercials. If you can find a better car, buy it. People are like, oh my God, this guy's good. Oh boy. Yosarian in Indiana, they were reluctant to release my father's ashes because it implied they might be displayed in our home without legal oversight. Legal oversight? Mitch, the Eagle Mine is the largest primary nickel mine in the U.S., about 10 miles from me as the crow flies. So Mitch checked in earlier. He's near Ishpeming, and Ishpeming's the area I was talking about. It's about to get hammered with snow. And there is an active mine there. And the main thing they're mining is nickel, although I think they've also found some other stuff there. But somebody asked earlier about industry in the UP, but I don't think that mine employs a lot of people, but I mean, employs some people. So old school DJ 54, you're one likable lawyer. Well, thank you. I enjoy your channel a lot. I appreciate that. Zach, have you ever gone morel hunting? No, I've seen them out in the woods, but I've never bothered to pick them because like, what would I do with it? But I go mountain biking. I see them out there once in a while. Ford rules, CD Burlock, you missed my Wolfman Jack question. Did you hear him from Baja, California? No. Only place I ever heard him on the radio was when the station I was working at ran him as a syndicated show in the 1980s. I know he was on the air in Mexico for a while on some of those big stations blasting north with 3 billion watts of power. Oh, boy. Robert Torrey points out that Iacocca is an acronym. I am chairman of Chrysler Corporation of America. The job he was born to have. Oh, boy. Yasarian says that might have just been the funeral home trying to get more money. Oh, absolutely. The funeral home will try to get money out of you any way they can. And they'll often, I hate to say this, they'll often hint that things need to be done a certain way. I mentioned last year that my brother passed away on April 3rd. So we're approaching the anniversary of that. And I handled a lot of the arrangements, funeral homes, and I got to write the obituary and so on. And I had a great experience with one funeral home, not so great with another. And I'm kind of like, so it's sad. Yeah, Prince Albert says that somebody did a video about people getting kicked out of Disney for dumping ashes. I've heard that before, and people will occasionally take ashes and dump them someplace without paying attention to which way the wind is blowing and what they're going to do. And I read a book called The Prophets of Death, written by a guy who was in the funeral industry, and he said that he talked to somebody who took some ashes to a golf course and scattered the ashes on one of the greens, and there's no wind, and there's just a big pile of ashes on the green. It's like, now what are you gonna do? You know, I mean, just because somebody wanted their ashes scattered, it doesn't mean you can do it. Lock watcher. So, what do you think are the legal obligations of a contractor that finds this oddball grave marker? Well, I would, whether or not they got legal obligations, I would tell them that they have an ethical obligation to try to determine if the marker is actually marking a real grave. And if so, how that happened, because you may need to move remains. And if it's just a marker that someone stole from a cemetery and threw over here, you want to return it. But, you got to do something. You got to do something. Yeah, Belio, my hometown funeral home, tried to shame my brother and me into buying their highest priced casket. Yeah. Ford rules, CD Burlock. No, I do not watch any financial shows. Dan Boyd, I'd like to have my ashes ingested by an internal combustion engine. Wait, are you telling me? No, how about this? I would like my ashes infused into the rear tires of a car. So you could do burnouts and smoke your tires, and I would be in the smoke of the tire. I gotta work on that. Oh. One healthy element. Thanks. I've enjoyed your stream today. Time 7480 in Las Vegas. A lady was caught spreading ashes in a casino. Was she doing it like Great Escape style, where she had them in her pant leg and she'd walk around and just shake her leg and have them fall on the ground? Because, if you realize you scatter them inside a casino, they're going to wind up in a vacuum cleaner. I mean, it's like if you scattered them in the fountain at the Bellagio, maybe I would understand that. Fatty McButterpants is in the house. What happens if you prepay a funeral and the funeral home goes out of business? There was an entire American Greed episode about a company that did that, and they just stole all the money and ran. And that's one of the fears you have. And so some states heavily regulate that now, to where if you give them the money, they've got to put it in some kind of trust account or something. But that's the problem you run into. That's the fear. Jerry Dodge, thanks, Steve. Have a good one. You too, my friend. Dan Boyd, pour my ashes in the starting line at the drag strip. Jay Klein, my mom was cremated and my brother and I spread her ashes. The funeral home seemed shocked we didn't buy her. Yeah, they're shocked because they didn't get your money for that. But my brother was very, very explicit. He had talked to one of my other brothers and also one of his best friends, and he wanted his ashes scattered on his property up in the up in northern Michigan, and we did that. And there were people who suggested, well, he's not really here anymore, so we could bury him. I'm like, no, no. As his brother, it is my job to make sure that his wishes are granted in that sense. So there you go. Carl's Corner, Steve, good show as always. Thank you. Louis Daniel Mesa says they can turn ashes into diamonds. I've heard that, but it sounds expensive. Mark Miller, I've got a pendant with my dad's fingerprint and ashes inside. Oh, that's cool. The prodigal stranger, just because we're bereaved doesn't make us saps. It is our most reasonably priced receptacle. Jay Klein, my mom was explicit. Cheapest casket for visitation, cremate, and spread the ashes. Yeah, Janice Ellery with funeral home in Broward County closed down and left unburied bodies in a storage unit. And that's happened many times also. And again, it's just, oh, it's an amazing shame that stuff happens. Paul Thomas Harris is not a job, it is your obligation to do what they wish. Well, I agree, but I want to point out that when I'm a lawyer speaking about obligations, responsibilities, you know, but trust me, my brother, if I know what he wanted done, uh, it's going to get done. Okay. You can call me Elsa. This got a little dark. I apologize. Lock watcher. I added 3 feet to my desk workbench by cleaning it. There you go. Well, we've been here for well over 2 hours. It is past 3 o'clock my time. As indicated previously, I did attend a record show this morning where I bought this, and that will be on the set shortly. And that is a mic flag. I will talk to you guys like I always do during the week and next weekend. Until then, behave yourself. Bye bye.